I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. Welcome to the Black Excellence and Abundance channel. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the Emperor Septimius Severus. The controversy stems from the fact that he was an African, but there are those who debate whether he was black or not. And one of the things that I find most interesting about this argument is when it is proven that someone of African descent has done something outstanding, something great, something like building the pyramids or building different civilizations in Egypt, or like what Yeshua has done. Then it's like, well, it doesn't matter what color he wasn't really black. But on the other hand, any other time, the one drop rule applies. Make up your mind. Either it does apply or it doesn't. You can't have it both ways. We have gotten several comments stating that we should not be calling ourselves black. Well, we know that black is a color. We know that we're not black. We know that people are not white. It is an entire social construct. It is a way to describe the modern day characteristics of people of a certain nationality. For instance, during the time of Emperor Septimius Severus, people were known by names as the Israelites, the Edomites, the Moabites, Hamites, Shemites, Canaanites, Gergesites. So they were not known as black and white. So we want to make that perfectly clear. The whole notion of classifying people as either white, black, yellow, red is entirely a modern social construct that was originally invented by the so-called white Europeans during the early modern period between 1450 and 1750 in order to justify slavery, colonialism, and racism. And as we moved into the 20th century, in the US, people were classified as being one race or the other based solely on the physical features, skin tone, etc. But these features are arbitrary and based solely on prejudice. And that's when we come to the bogus one-drop rule. The one-drop rule was adopted as law in the 20th century, first in Tennessee and then in Virginia under the Racial Integrity Act in 1924. Now, the bogus one-drop rule says that any person with even one black ancestor, one drop of black blood is considered black, Negro, or considered colored in the historical terms, as if you can legally change or classify someone's nationality. And we know it's bogus. As we said, we are not colors. We know that that is completely bogus. Which brings us to North Africa. Now, North Africa, you have countries like Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and of course, Egypt. And that is the region that Septimius Severus was born. His father was a Phoenician. Now, who were the Phoenicians, you ask? Now, in the book From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor on page 106, it reads, the Hebrew-speaking Phoenicians/Canaanites established their greatest city, Carthage, at Tunisia in North Africa. All the Canaanites were black people. I repeat, the Phoenicians, Canaanites, were all black people, which they were located in what was known as Tunisia in North Africa. They all were black people. So North Africa, all of those lands now, like that we mentioned, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, were all black people. And that really should be no surprise when you consider that black people were the first people on every continent, including North Africa. Now back to this emperor.
Septimius Severus, in full, Lucius Septimius Severus Pertinax, was the Roman emperor from 193 to 211. He founded a personal dynasty and converted the government into a military monarchy. His reign marks a critical stage in the development of the absolute despotism that characterized the later Roman Empire. He was the son of an equestrian from the Roman colony of Leptis Magna. Severus entered the Senate about 173 and became consul in 190. At the time of the murder of the Commodus on December 31st, 192, he was governor of Upper Pannonia, now in Austria and Hungary, and commander of the largest army in the Danube River. He remained inactive while the Praetorian Guards murdered Commodus' successor, Publius Helvius Pertinax, and auctioned off the imperial title to Marcus Didius Julianus. Then on April 13th, Severus was proclaimed emperor by his troops. Declaring himself the avenger of Pertinax, he marched on Rome. Julianus was murdered at Rome on June 1st, and Severus entered the city without resistance several days later. Severus replaced the Praetorian Guard with a new 15,000-man guard from his own Danubian legions. He temporarily pacified his rival on Britiere, Domitius Clodius Albinus, by naming him Caesar, junior emperor. In the year 194, he marched east and decisively defeated another rival, Gaius Pesninius Niger, governor of Syria. Severus then headed westward to confront Albinus, who had declared himself emperor. Albinus committed suicide following his crushing defeat near Lugdunum, which is now Lyon, France, in February 197. Returning to Rome, Severus executed about 30 of Albinus' senatorial supporters. To justify his usurpation, he declared himself the adoptive son of the emperor Marcus Aurelius and claimed descent from the emperor Nerva. He also named Caracalla his son by his Syrian wife, Julia Domna, a co-emperor and thus successor. Late in the year 197, Severus marched east to turn back an invasion of Mesopotamia, now in Iraq, by the Parthians, and 2 years later, Mesopotamia was annexed to the empire. By the year 202, Severus was back in Rome, where he spent the next 6 years making major changes in the structure of the imperial government. Since his power rested on military might rather than constitutional sanction, he gave the army a dominant role in his state. He won the soldiers' support by increasing their pay and permitting them to marry. In order to prevent the rise of a powerful military rival, he reduced the number of legions under each general's control. At the same time, Severus ignored the Senate, which declined rapidly in power, and he recruited his officials from the equestrian rather than the senatorial order. Many provincials and peasants received advancement, and the Italian aristocracy lost much of its former influence. Severus paid special attention to the administration of justice. The Italian courts outside of Rome were removed from senatorial jurisdiction and put under the control of the Praetorian prefect. After the fall of the emperor's favorite, the Praetorian prefect, Gaius Fulvius Platinius, the distinguished jurist Papian, became prefect. Severus also drew on the advice of the renowned jurist Ulpian in making extensive reforms of the laws. Despite his donations to the urban poor and his extensive building campaign, Severus succeeded in maintaining full treasury. In 208, Severus, accompanied by Caracalla and his younger son, Geta, led an army to Britain to subdue the parts of the island not under Roman rule. This African emperor reigned for 18 years.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be honest with ourselves. As we research history, we find that pretty much everything that we were taught was a lie. Let's be honest. So my assessment of the situation is, you mean to tell me that black people were the first person on this planet, that we were the first ones on this planet, the first one on every continent, yet we weren't the first ones in North Africa? I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 second. And if you notice, every time we do our DNA test, they always say it was from Sub Sahara Africa. Sub Sahara. They wipe out North Africa. Why? Well, I believe because North Africa is the cradle of civilization. So many great things have come out of that region. So the argument is that we had nothing to do with that. That our people just puffed up from a cloud of smoke. We just came out of nowhere and we just appeared in South Africa and in West Africa. But the truth of the matter is, the entire continent of Africa was inhabited by black Africans, including the Emperor Septimius Severus. The Black Excellence and Abundance channel, where black history is every day.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, thou art